I am no longer employed by you, Isabella stated, her blue dress rustling as she retreated from Marcus Bennett. The evening light filtering through the mansion's windows illuminated the glimmer of her earrings. What do you mean you are no longer employed by me? You were employed last week. Marcus relaxed his tie, fatigued after his 6-month business expedition to Asia. He had no need for personnel conflicts. I have resigned, she asserted, raising her chin to meet his stare. I can no longer maintain the facade. Maintain the facade of what precisely? His tone became more incisive. Her demeanor had unsettled him since his arrival an hour prior. She appeared excessively refined and articulate in her discourse to be merely a housekeeper. That I'm just a maid. I am Isabella Nakamura. The name struck Marcus with the force of a physical blow. Nakamura, as in, affirmative. Takashi Nakamura is my father. She remained unperturbed by his penetrating gaze. I was dispatched to collect information regarding your recent technological advancements in Asia. Marcus ran his hand through his hair and emitted a loud laugh. Naturally, I should have anticipated this. Your discourse on Renaissance art over dinner and your understanding of market trends. He paused, narrowing his eyes. Was anything genuine? That is why I am disclosing this now, as everything else has become authentic. Isabella advanced a step. I did not anticipate you to be you. And what precisely am I? Someone who perceives me as more than merely my father's daughter. Someone who converses with the kitchen staff as if they were family. Someone who… She paused, a flush appearing on her cheeks. Someone who what? Marcus inched closer, the atmosphere thick with tension. Someone who makes me wish this were not entirely predicated on a deception. Her voice fell to almost a whisper. Mrs. Rodriguez entered abruptly, halting at the sight of them positioned so closely together. Mr. Bennett, I did not anticipate your return until tomorrow. I see you have encountered Isabella. Oh, we have met, Marcus replied, maintaining his gaze on Isabella. She was elucidating intriguing aspects of her past. Mrs. Rodriguez's eyes expanded in astonishment. Sir, I can elucidate. I only discovered this yesterday upon seeing her father's photograph in the business section. It's acceptable, Mrs. Rodriguez, Isabella interjected. I was merely departing. No, Marcus's hand extended, seizing her wrist. You will not depart until we conclude this discussion. There is nothing further to discuss, Isabella retorted. However, she did not withdraw. I dissent. I believe we are approaching the intriguing segment. His hold relaxed, although his gaze remained fervent. The segment where you elucidate the true reasons for your resignation. Is it due to your father's mission or the incident that occurred between us during dinner? Mrs. Rodriguez discreetly exited, murmuring something regarding inspecting the kitchen. Both, Isabella conceded. I can no longer surveil you. Not after becoming acquainted with you, not after. She motioned aimlessly between them. Then refrain. Marcus's voice was subdued yet resolute. Remain, not as a servant, not as an observer, merely as your true self. It is not that straightforward. It could be… He advanced closer, necessitating her to tilt her head back to sustain eye contact. What if we simplified it? The grandfather clock in the hallway chimed 6, its sounds reverberating throughout the manor. Neither party made any movement. You cannot be serious, Isabella remarked, retreating from Marcus. We scarcely know one another. I possess sufficient knowledge. He tracked her motion, sustaining the tension between them. I recognize your brilliance. I am aware that you can reference Michelangelo and engage in discourse about cryptocurrency simultaneously. Furthermore, I understand that you are not merely a pawn of your father. Did you acquire all that knowledge during a single dinner? Additionally, the background check I conducted upon entering revealed that my new housekeeper possessed greater knowledge of market trends than the majority of my board members. Isabella's jaw fell. You were aware. Not all. Not concerning your father. However, I sensed that something was amiss. He shrugged, a little smile on his lips. I simply lacked concern. Why was that? Because observing your efforts to uphold your disguise while concurrently rectifying my interpretation of Caravaggio's application of chiaroscuro was amusing, she blushed. I ought not to have acted in that manner. No, it was advisable for you to have done so. It was my initial authentic view of you. He approached the window, further loosening his tie. At that moment I resolved to evaluate you. The dinner, she acknowledged. You intentionally introduced those subjects. Guilty. He pivoted to confront her. Although I did not anticipate deriving such pleasure from it. This is absurd. Isabella traversed the room. You ought to be enraged. I arrived here to surveil you. She paused her pacing. Instead Yes. I lament that our meeting did not occur under more favorable circumstances. Marcus traversed the room to his desk and activated the intercom. Mrs. Rodriguez. Yes, Senior Bennett. Kindly annul Miss Nakamura's resignation. Marcus. Isabella objected. And provide an additional setting for dinner. We have several matters to address. Immediately, Signor. He disengaged the button and faced Isabella. Unless you possess other intentions. Other than informing my father. No. She emitted a sardonic laugh. I believe I have already failed at that task. Have you? He elevated an eyebrow. Or have you unearthed something more precious than corporate secrets? Such as what? He referenced the notion that often, the finest aspects of life are concealed in unexpected forms, while indicating her uniform. Even as a maid's uniform, Isabella adjusted the lace collar with a hint of self-consciousness. I ought to change. Indeed, you ought. Engage in whatever provides you with comfort. If this dinner is not between an employer and employee, what is it? Let us designate it as a new beginning. He proceeded to the door. 7 o'clock. She paused, then acquiesced. 7 o'clock. As Marcus exited the room, Isabella collapsed into a chair, her mind swirling. In under 24 hours, everything had altered, her objective, her front, her emotions. All reshaped by one man's unforeseen response to her deceit. The grandfather clock chimed once more, signaling that she had but 1 hour to choose between adhering to her father's plan or risking a venture that seemed perilously akin to fate. She retrieved her phone, gazing at her father's number shown on the screen. Subsequently, with a resolute gesture, she deactivated it and upped the stairs to change. As 7 o'clock approached, Isabella Nakamura was poised to reveal her true self for the first time since her arrival at the mansion. Isabella positioned herself before her bedroom mirror, exchanging her uniform for a plain black dress. Her hands quivered as she secured her mother's pearl necklace. Her phone vibrated once more, marking the 15th call from her father inside the last hour. She cast a fleeting look at it, remorse eating away at her insides. Only one call, she murmured, extending her hand towards the phone. Before she could respond, a tap at her door startled her. Ms. Nakamura. Mrs. Rodriguez's words resonated through the door. Your father has arrived. Isabella's heart ceased to function. What is it? He is located in the foyer. Mr. Bennett is currently conversing with him. Negative, negative, negative. Isabella hurried to the door and forcefully opened it. His presence is not permissible here. Mrs. Rodriguez grasped her arm. Inhale deeply, Nina. Mr. Bennett appears composed. Voices emanated from the foyer below. Isabella stealthily approached the landing, remaining concealed. Mr. Nakamura, Marcus stated. This is an unforeseen delight. Where is my daughter located? Takashi Nakamura's voice was incisive. Dining with me in approximately 20 minutes. This game concludes now, Bennett. Isabella is returning home. Is she indeed? Marcus maintained a buoyant tone. As of my last inquiry, she is 28 years old and competent in making her own judgments. You are unaware of the magnitude of the situation you are confronting. Indeed, I do. Your daughter is exceptionally intelligent, obstinate, and inept at industrial espionage, particularly when she begins to rectify my understanding of art history. Isabella grimaced. She did not intend to be that conspicuous. Takashi retorted sharply, "This is not a jest. The merger in Singapore will happen precisely as intended," Marcus said. "Your daughter's presence here has not influenced any commercial transactions. However, it has impacted other matters." "Which items?" "Inquire directly with her." Marcus's tone became gentler. "Isabella, I am aware of your presence above." She shut her eyes, inhaled deeply, and descended the staircase. Her father's expression soured upon observing her evening gown. "What is this?" he insisted. "This is I, father. No longer feigning. Are you discarding all that we have accomplished? For him?" Isabella did not avert her sight from him. "I am fatigued from serving as your corporate informant. I desire autonomy in my life." "Your personal existence?" Takashi emitted a gruff laugh. "Do you believe he will grant you that? The one who has been attempting to undermine our company?" Marcus advanced. "I have been attempting to merge with your organization. There exists a distinction. An aggressive takeover was never my objective." Marcus retrieved his phone and displayed an email to each of them. This was intended to be the announcement for tomorrow. A joint venture with equal ownership between Bennett Tech and Nakamura Industries. Isabella gazed at him. "Were you planning to combine regardless? What is your reasoning for my 6-month stay in Asia?" He exhibited a faint smile. "Admittedly, your presence here has complicated matters in unforeseen ways." Takashi seized the phone and read rapidly. His countenance altered. "This is just... Indeed, it is. I acquired my business acumen from my father, analogous to how Isabella learnt from you." Marcus halted. "The distinction is in my provision of the choice that my father denied me." "Which option?" Father and daughter inquired concurrently. "The decision to transcend the role of a mere corporate heir." He directed his attention on Isabella. "What is your selection?" Isabella gazed between the two men. Her father, who had orchestrated her life since birth. Marcus, having knowing her for less than a day, perceived her more distinctly than anyone else ever did. The grandfather clock commenced chiming 7 times. "I select dinner," she declared at last. "With both of you." Subsequently, we engage in conversation concerning all matters, the amalgamation, the prospects, and my aspirations for existence. Marcus exhibited a smile. Takashi's shoulders eased marginally. Mrs. Rodriguez, who had been silently observing from the threshold, cleared her throat. "Should I prepare a third setting for dinner?" The tension in the foyer dissipated when 3 voices responded together. Affirmative. The dining room was charged with tension. Isabella positioned herself between her father and Marcus, manipulating her soup more than consuming it. "Mrs. Rodriguez," Marcus said that the béarnaise is exceptional, shattering the quiet. Mrs. Rodriguez responded from the serving station that it is, in fact, Isabella's recipe. "She has prepared the majority of the meals this past week." Takashi's spoon collided with his bowl, producing a clattering sound. "You have been preparing food." Isabella stated softly that her mother taught her prior to her passing. Marcus observed the interaction with keen interest. "The identical mother who bestowed upon you that pearl necklace. You observe every details, do you not?" Isabella caressed the pearls with self-awareness. "Only the essential matters." His gaze remained on her visage before shifting to Takashi. "Your daughter possesses your determination and her mother's charm," Takashi retorted. "You are entirely ignorant of my wife. I am aware that she was an art scholar, that she encountered you at a gallery opening in Tokyo, and that she selected these pearls precisely due to their resemblance to the Vermeer painting where you first conversed," Isabella exclaimed. "How did you... Your mother's dissertation on Vermeer continues to be referenced at prominent universities." Marcus grinned gently. "I completed my task upon recognizing your identity. Nevertheless, you permitted her to remain," Takashi noted. "What is the reason?" "Unlike you, I advocate for allowing individuals to make their own decisions, even when such decisions entail corporate espionage, particularly at that time." Marcus placed his spoon down. Isabella's endeavor to engage in espionage revealed more about her character than any background investigation could. "In what manner?" Isabella inquired. Your dishonesty is abysmal. Whenever you were compelled to fabricate the truth, you would divert the conversation to art history. It was charming. Takashi emitted a sound of disapproval. Emotion is irrelevant in business. Does it not? Marcus inclined his body forward. Isn't that the reason you have preserved your wife's art collection all these years? What prompted you to name your inaugural sustainable energy project after her? A hush descended upon the table. Takashi's expression relaxed quite imperceptibly. He ultimately stated the merger proposition. You incorporated stipulations for an art foundation. Marcus confirmed the establishment of the Sarah Nakamura Foundation for Arts and Innovation, to be led by an individual possessing both commercial insight and competence in art history. Isabella's hands quivered as she extended towards her water glass. Did you orchestrate this entire scheme? The foundation, indeed. Encountering you in this location. That was unforeseen. However, occasionally the most effective strategies are those we do not formulate. What strategy do you propose for my daughter? Takashi insisted. None. Marcus gazed into Isabella's eyes. The decision rests solely with her. Mrs. Rodriguez selected that moment to present the main meal. However, Isabella scarcely acknowledged the contents of her plate. Her thoughts surged with ideas she had never permitted herself to contemplate. She abruptly stated her desire to manage the foundation. However, I wish to proceed according to my own method. No corporate espionage, no prepared unions, no preset trajectory. Takashi began to voice his objection but gradually shut his mouth instead. For the first time, he genuinely regarded his daughter, not as an heir or a possession, but as the offspring of her mother. He finally remarked that your mother would have approved. She consistently asserted that you possessed her heart and my intellect. Is that affirmative? Isabella inhaled deeply. It is a commencement, Takashi addressed Marcus. However, if you harm her, I would first need to endure Mrs. Rodriguez. Marcus interjected with a smile. From her position, Mrs. Rodriguez murmured a phrase in Spanish that elicited an involuntary laugh from Isabella. The tension in the room ultimately dissipated, supplanted by a novel element. Possibilities, Marcus remarked, elevating the exquisite porcelain cup that Mrs. Rodriguez had just placed before him. This is your mother's preferred tea set. The trio relocated to the library post-dinner, where the waning twilight light permeated through the lofty windows. Isabella sat on the edge of an ancient armchair, contemplating the events of the past few hours. How did you get that knowledge? She inquired. The motif. It resembles the photograph on your father's desk in Tokyo. He grinned at her astonishment. I observed that throughout our merger discussions. Takashi placed his cup down with a distinct clink. You observe a significant amount, Mr. Bennett. Only that which is significant. Marcus's gaze intersected with Isabella's. Your daughter has been sketching architectural patterns on her napkin throughout dinner. Isabella swiftly concealed the napkin with her palm. It is inconsequential. Demonstrate, Mrs. Rodriguez urged, replenishing their drinks. Convey your concepts to them. Suggestions? Takashi inclined his body forward. Isabella, with quivering fingertips, flattened the napkin. I had been contemplating the foundation. What if it transcended a conventional art venue? What if we integrated gallery spaces with innovation laboratories? Proceed, Marcus urged. Art and technology need not exist as distinct realms. My mother always asserted that the Renaissance masters were also inventors. Her voice intensified. We may establish environments for collaboration between artists and technologists, where traditional craftsmanship intersects with advanced technology. Marcus referenced the textile printing project you mentioned during supper. You are indeed attending to that. I attentively consider all your statements. The fervor in his voice caused her to flush. Takashi cleared his throat. The board need persuasion. Then let me to persuade them, Isabella asserted. Grant me an opportunity to articulate my vision. Her father cautioned that a comprehensive proposal would be necessary. I possess one already. She rose and approached her purse, extracting a tattered notebook. I had been engaged in this task since prior to your arrival. Marcus seized the notebook, perusing the pages filled with designs and annotations. His eyebrows ascended. This is remarkable. You have considered all aspects, from financial frameworks to community engagement. She confessed that she never anticipated utilizing it. It was all a dream. Dreams are significant, Marcus stated gently. They reveal our true identity. Takashi observed their interaction with scrutinizing eyes. Who are you, Mr. Bennett? Acknowledging a kindred spirit beyond your corporate achievements. He returned the notebook to Isabella, their fingertips briefly touching. And someone who understands the desire to exceed societal expectations. Mrs. Rodriguez subtly commenced the removal of the tea service. However, her knowing smirk did not escape Isabella's observation. Takashi stated that the board convenes next week. Consequently, Isabella's countenance illuminated. Indeed, however, her father raised a hand. Cease all deceit. Eliminate all clandestine agendas. From any individual. He gazed intently at Marcus. Marcus stood due to her avarice. Indeed, let us commence immediately. Isabella, would you accompany me for supper tomorrow? Not as a domestic servant, nor as a corporate successor, but simply as your authentic self. Isabella experienced an accelerated heartbeat. This was occurring too rapidly, yet paradoxically not swiftly enough. Indeed, she remarked, disregarding her father's audible gasp. I would appreciate that. The grandfather clock chimed 10, its echoes resonating through the library as a herald of impending change. Takashi declared, rising to his feet, that it was time for him to retire for the evening. Isabella, I will remain for a while longer, she responded, avoiding his gaze. I require a discussion with Marcus regarding the foundation. Mrs. Rodriguez arrived abruptly. I will escort you to the guest room, Mr. Nakamura. I have already prepared it. After their departure, Marcus positioned himself next to Isabella on the leather sofa. Is the foundation not the subject you wish to discuss? She pivoted to confront him. Why do you not express anger regarding the surveillance? Would you accept my assertion that I find it delightful? No one considers corporate espionage appealing, he chuckled. Indeed, observing your efforts to uphold your facade while fervently advocating for Caravaggio's impact on contemporary cinema was a distinctly remarkable experience. I embarrassed myself. You revealed your true self to me. He moved nearer, and someone who prioritizes art and innovation over corporate maneuvering. She faintly objected. You do not know me. I am aware that you have perused every book in this library within the past week. The margins are annotated with your notes, he indicated the shelves. I am aware that you restructured my entire art collection according to historical time instead of market worth. Isabella flushed, acknowledging her act of feeding the stray cat behind the kitchen. How did you acquire this information? Mrs. Rodriguez keeps me apprised. She has an affection for you, by the way. States that you are the inaugural one to assist her with the arduous cleaning tasks rather than only directing her. It was the appropriate course of action. Precisely. His hand located hers. That is your identity. Not a traditional spy, but a somebody who acts ethically, even in the absence of oversight. She gazed at their interlocked hands. This is absurd. Our acquaintance is minimal. Let us rectify that issue. He rose, elevating her beside him. Present your preferred artwork within the residence. It is nearly midnight. The optimal moment for an art tour. His eyes glimmered with challenge. Unless you harbor fear, of you or the darkness, either option is acceptable. Both options. Isabella paused briefly before guiding him to the east wing. In the study, there exists a diminutive Dutch masterpiece that exquisitely catches the essence of candlelight. They dedicated the subsequent hour traversing from room to room, with Isabella elucidating the nuanced intricacies of each picture, while Marcus observed her more than the artwork itself. Neither acknowledged how their hands stayed intertwined, nor how each room drew them incrementally closer. Upon their eventual return to the library, the grandfather clock chimed 1 o'clock. Reluctantly, Isabella stated that she should leave, or alternatively, you may remain and elaborate on your concepts for the foundation. My father is slumbering upstairs, perhaps devising my demise. He smiled broadly. An additional hour will not alter it. She recognized the necessity to depart, aware that the situation was progressing too rapidly. Instead, she reclined on the sofa and retrieved her notebook. Regarding the textile printing project, Marcus's smile caused her heart to flutter. Occasionally, she began to comprehend that the most advantageous judgments were those that were entirely illogical. The mansion's elegant dining room was illuminated in golden hues during the early evening as Isabella ascended the stairs clad in a deep burgundy dress. After hours of selection, she discovered Marcus awaiting her in the lobby, dressed in casual pants and a light blue shirt. "I am overdressed," she remarked, halting midway. "You are flawless." His gaze shifted from her flowing curls to her metallic heels. "However, I must indicate that we will not be dining here." "We are not. I believed we may benefit from a change of environment, free from intrusive observation." He sent a significant glance toward the kitchen, where Mrs. Rodriguez feigned disinterest in their actions. "My father is in the city convening with his board members." Mrs. Rodriguez assured that she would engage him if he arrives early. A unique sound emanated from the kitchen. Naturally, Isabella laughed. "You have considered all aspects." "Not everything," he extended his arm. "I am unaware of your preferred cuisine. Following the completion of your research, there are certain matters I like to acquire knowledge about firsthand." He guided her not to his customary vehicle, but to a vintage convertible stationed in the circular driveway. The evening weather was sufficiently warm to keep the convertible top down as they drove into the city. "Italian language?" She spoke abruptly. "What?" "My preferred cuisine, particularly my mother's gnocchi recipe. She acquired it in Florence while pursuing her doctorate studies." Marcus smiled as he veered toward North Beach. "I am aware of the precise location." The eatery was diminutive, situated between two larger edifices. There is no indication, but a worn blue door. Within, merely 6 tables occupied the tiny area. Marco, an elderly woman, exited the kitchen and embraced Marcus. "Who is this exquisite individual?" "Isabella Nakamura." He extracted her chair. "Isabella, this is Sophia. She instructed my mother in culinary skills." "Your maternal figure?" Isabella was unprepared for this intimate bond. Sophia caressed Marcus's cheek. "This youngster would occupy my kitchen for hours, completing homework while his mother mastered the art of sauce preparation. Observe him now, fully matured, and at last introducing a female companion to me." "It is not." Isabella commenced her objections. "I will bring the exquisite wine." Sophia interjected with a wink before vanishing into the kitchen. Isabella observed Marcus from across the diminutive table. "You are replete with surprises." He leaned forward and stated, "So are you. Provide me with information that is not obtainable through research." "What do you mean?" "What motivated you to accept the position as my maid?" In this instance, she traced the edge of her water glass. "I sought to demonstrate a particular point." She caught his gaze, addressing both your father and myself. "I aspire to be more than merely the Nakamura heir. That I could accomplish something independently, even if it was dubious." "What now?" "I am currently dining with my objective, strategizing an art foundation, and contemplating the possibility of dreaming." Sophia reappeared with wine and then vanished once again in silence. However, her knowing smile spoke plenty. "If this is a dream," Marcus said, "I wish to remain asleep, even with the awareness of my identity, my actions, particularly the knowledge that—" He extended his hand across the table, grasping hers. "Your attempt to impersonate another revealed your true identity to me." An individual poised to sample Sophia's gnocchi, so eclipsing all prior experiences with Italian cuisine. Sophia appeared promptly with sizzling meals. The fragrant scent of sage-infused butter permeated the atmosphere. Isabella chewed into the food and closed her eyes in ecstasy. "This is similar to your mother's." Marcus observed her look with anticipation. She conceded that was an improvement. "Do not disclose that I made such statement to her. Your secret is secure with me." His thumb caressed her palm. "They all are." The remainder of supper unfolded in a haze of exquisite pasta, sumptuous wine, and dialogues that meandered from art to technology to nostalgic recollections of childhood. Upon completion, the other tables had been vacated, and Sophia was ushering them out with a box of tiramisu and further knowing glances. Isabella faced Marcus in the vehicle. "Thank you for this evening and for all that you have done. The night is not yet concluded," he remarked enigmatically, steering the vehicle away from home and towards the bay. The grandfather clock in the mansion chimed 9, and for once, none of them was tallying the hours. The convertible ascended to Twin Peaks, where San Francisco glimmered below like dispersed diamonds. Marcus halted at a remote overlook, unfurling a blanket on the car's hood. He remarked that Sophia's tiramisu is enhanced by the view while assisting Isabella in arranging herself on the blanket. "Do you do this frequently?" she inquired, taking a fork. "This is my inaugural experience." He positioned himself adjacent to her, their shoulders in contact. "I often eschew anything that appears romantic or exposes vulnerability." The term lingered between them as they enjoyed the dessert in tranquil stillness. The city lights shimmered beneath, as a fresh breeze wafted the fragrance of eucalyptus trees. "May I pose a question to you?" Isabella placed her fork down. "What was your true motivation for seeking a merger with my father's company?" Marcus was silent for a brief while. "Your father's clean energy technology, in conjunction with my AI systems, has the potential to transform sustainable manufacturing. Nevertheless, however, it is the business response." He oriented himself towards her. "I observed how your father constructed something enduring and significant. I desired that. You possess that. Bennett Tech it is prosperous, indeed, but success does not equate to significance." He indicated towards the metropolis below. "I aspire to create something that enhances the planet, rather than only increasing wealth." Isabella examined his silhouette in the moonlight. "Similar to an artistic foundation that connects technology and creativity?" He smiled precisely in that manner, although I never anticipated that its director would initially present as an undercover maid. In response, she intertwined her fingers in her lap. "I must disclose an additional matter that I did not communicate to my father. I am attentive. The actual motive for accepting the position was not business espionage. That was merely my pretext." She inhaled deeply. "I viewed your interview last month regarding your aspiration to humanize technology and utilize AI for the preservation of cultural heritage. It encompassed all my thoughts that I was unable to articulate. Thus you have arrived to surveil me. I have come to comprehend you. The espionage was merely conceal." Marcus remained silent for an extended period, causing Isabella to become anxious. Subsequently, he chuckled, softly and sincerely. "What is humorous?" He grasped her hand. "You feigned surveillance of my company to comprehend my vision. I feigned ignorance to comprehend you better. We are indeed a duo of deceivers. Perhaps we are merely two individuals seeking a rationale to connect." The city resonated beneath them. Numerous lives engaged in their mundane evenings while, above, an incredible event was unfolding. "What occurs next?" Isabella murmured. At this moment, Marcus drew her nearer. "We have ceased to feign." His kiss was tender and inquisitive. Isabella responded by encircling his neck with her arms, intensifying the kiss until the city lights became indistinct, leaving just this moment as tangible. This association. Upon their eventual separation, Isabella reclined her head upon his shoulder. "My father will never comprehend this. He comprehended your mother, an artist who questioned his entire perspective. That was distinct. Was it so?" Marcus delineated patterns on her palm. "Occasionally, the most effective collaborations commence with minor deceit and culminate in honesty." Fog was encroaching from the bay, shrouding the city in enigma. However, at this elevation, everything became unexpectedly and vividly apparent. The grandfather clock in the mansion told 11, its chimes inaudible from afar. However, time was nonetheless recording this moment, counting down to an unforeseen event for both individuals. In her chamber in the mansion, Isabella paced, still adorned in her burgundy dinner dress. Her phone vibrated for the 10th occasion. Her father once again. She ultimately responded. "Greetings, father. Where have you been located?" Takashi's voice emanated with distortion from the speaker. "The board meeting has been rescheduled to an earlier time. They wish to review your proposal tomorrow." Her heart ceased to function. "On the morrow. However, I am unprepared. This is a commercial matter, Isabella. We are never entirely prepared." He hesitated. "Where were you this evening?" "Accompanied by Marcus." Silence extended throughout the line. "Father, you are developing feelings for him." It was not an inquiry. Isabella collapsed onto her bed. "Would that be so dreadful?" "It would be complex." He exhaled audibly. "The board is already questioning the merger. If they believe it is motivated by personal issues, it is not correct." Documents rustled in the background. "I observed his gaze towards you and your gaze towards him." "Father." She infrequently employed the casual address. "Did you adore your mother?" Immediately, a prolonged silence ensued. Upon witnessing her dispute with a curator on Vermeer's manipulation of light, I realized she would profoundly impact my life. His tone became gentler. "She would have appreciated him, you know. Marcus, he possesses her ability to perceive beyond superficiality." A chair emitted a creaking sound. "However, the board?" Isabella interjected that the board would review a robust business proposition. "That is the essence of the matter. My sentiments towards Marcus do not alter the vision I hold for this foundation." "What are your emotions?" She caressed her lips, lingering with the memory of their kiss. "I believe I am developing romantic feelings for him. Following a duration of 3 days, at times one possesses an inherent understanding." Takashi remained silent for an extended while, leading her to believe the connection had disconnected. Ultimately, he articulated his thoughts. "The board convenes at 9 o'clock. Do not arrive tardily." "Father." "Affirmative. Thank you for comprehension." "I do not comprehend," he stated gently. "Your mother instructed me that certain matters are not intended to be comprehended. Exclusively accepted." Upon concluding the call, Isabella retrieved her notebook to examine her idea. A text message illuminated her phone. "Marcus, unable to sleep, contemplating moonlight and tiramisu." She grinned while responding by typing. "Board meeting scheduled for tomorrow. 0900 hours." His response was prompt. "I will be present. Require assistance with preparation." Isabella surveyed her notes before directing her gaze at the clock, which indicated midnight. She texted to come to the library. "I require a novel viewpoint." A gentle rap sounded at her door moments later. She opened it to discover Marcus, still attired in his evening garments, carrying 2 cups of Mrs. Rodriguez's distinctive coffee. "Prepared to transform the world?" he inquired. Isabella grasped a cup, inhaling the robust fragrance. One foundation at a time, they proceeded to the library, where the ensuing hours would amalgamate into a blend of business strategies, collective aspirations, and instances when their hands would inadvertently touch while exchanging documents. The grandfather clock chimed once, then twice, then thrice, marking the passage to dawn and its forthcoming revelations. "They remain in the library," Mrs. Rodriguez murmured to Takashi while serving him breakfast in the garden. Dawn had just emerged, sending elongated shadows over the estate. Throughout the entire night, he placed his coffee cup on the surface, preparing the presentation. She grinned with understanding, despite the presence of hand-holding. "Maria." Takashi's admonitory tone lacked genuine intensity. "Mr. Nakamura, I have been employed in this residence for 20 years. I was acquainted with Marcus's parents. That boy has never gazed at anyone as he does at your daughter. That is my concern. What is the reason? Is it due to excessive speed? Or because it could be authentic?" Prior to his response, voices emanated from the library window above them. Marcus indicated that the technology integration requires further elaboration. Isabella contended that an excessive emphasis on technology may compromise the creative concept. "Subsequently, we shall ascertain the equilibrium." similar to all other matters. Mrs. Rodriguez directed a piercing gaze at Takashi. They have exhibited this behavior throughout the night. Commerce and fervor, creativity and innovation, like to two complementary parts of a singular entity. She is expected to inherit my firm. Who asserts that she is incapable of accomplishing both tasks? Mrs. Rodriguez replenished his coffee. Your daughter possesses your acumen for commerce and her mother's passion for the arts. Permit her to utilize both. The sound of footsteps on the stairs prompted both of them to turn. Isabella emerged, still clad in her burgundy dress from the previous night, her hair somewhat disheveled but her eyes radiating determination. Marcus pursued. His shirt was creased, yet his demeanor remained concentrated. Father, Isabella halted abruptly upon encountering him. You are awake early. Recall the board meeting? We are prepared. She grasped her notebook. We have optimized all aspects. Takashi arched an eyebrow at Marcus. Marcus stated that the foundation requires the cooperation of both companies to succeed, positioning himself slightly behind Isabella. Constitutes a genuine collaboration. Mrs. Rodriguez discreetly commenced clearing the breakfast table, but not before remarking, like all the finest things in life, correct? Isabella exhibited a flush of embarrassment. Marcus grinned. Takashi observed the two, recognizing what Mrs. Rodriguez had already perceived. Their unconscious mirroring of movements and the palpable energy that occupied the space between them. Takashi finally stated that the automobile will arrive in an hour. Isabella, you ought to undergo transformation. Indeed, certainly. She began to depart but then paused. Marcus, I will see you at the meeting. His hand grazed hers. Reveal your true self to them. While Isabella ascended the stairs, Takashi confronted Marcus. Should this fail, it must not, Marcus interjected. Your daughter is exceptionally intelligent. The board will observe that. What do you observe? All matters. Marcus maintained a steady look. All that she is, all that she could become, everything that we could construct together. Mrs. Rodriguez murmured quietly as she entered with the breakfast tray. The grandfather clock chimed 7, its echoes resonating through the early air as a herald of potential. The boardroom of Nakamura Industries was filled with tension. 20 board members gathered around a large table, their looks varying from skeptical to inquisitive. Isabella positioned herself to the forefront, prepared for her presentation. Prior to commencing, a board member remarked that we should consider the atypical conditions. Atypical? Takashi inquired from his position at the head of the table. The association between Miss Nakamura and Marcus Bennett. The board member observed Marcus, who remained silent in the corner. The situation is quite advantageous, considering the suggested merger. Isabella's grip on her notebook intensified. My private life is irrelevant to my idea. Does it not? Another participant contributed. You were dispatched to collect intelligence on Bennett Tech. However, Marcus interrupted while standing. She conceived a vision of greater significance for the future of both enterprises. Mr. Bennett, Takashi cautioned, this is a confidential board meeting. I shall depart then. Marcus approached the door, halting next to Isabella. Demonstrate to them, he murmured. Upon his departure, Isabella inhaled deeply and opened her notebook. Esteemed audience, you are correct. This commenced as corporate espionage. However, what I uncovered was not proprietary information, but potential. She presented her initial slide, displaying an impressive architectural rendering. This represents the future. More than merely an art basis, it serves as a conduit between two realms. A venue where Nakamura's sustainable technology converges with Bennett's AI innovation, dedicated to the preservation and enhancement of human creativity. The audience became quiet as she proceeded, her voice intensifying with each utterance. The identical fervor that had prolonged her wakefulness with Marcus now permeated the boardroom, rendering a future so tangible they could nearly grasp it. Marcus paced the corridor outside, glancing at his watch. The grandfather clock in the foyer chimed 10, and he contemplated whether time had ever progressed so languidly. Within, Isabella was poised to discover that the most arduous conflicts are often waged in the most silent chambers, armed solely with truth. Isabella stated that they are deliberating, as she joined Marcus in the hall 3 hours later. Her hands trembled slightly. He grasped her hand and said, "Let us depart from this place. I am aware of a location." He guided her to the elevator without awaiting her reply. Shortly thereafter, they entered a little gallery located a few blocks from the Nakamura building. Isabella read the sign, "The Bennett Collection." "I was unaware that you possessed a gallery. It belonged to my mother." He escorted her indoors. She asserted that art ought to be available to all, rather than confined to opulent residences. The area was tiny, with walls adorned by meticulously selected artworks. A new installation was being established in the middle. Marcus stated softly that this was the location he envisioned for your inaugural show. The Foundation's inaugural presentation. Isabella faced him. "I am confident that the board will provide approval." He caressed her cheek, affirming his certainty about her. "Your presentation transcended a mere business plan. It was an expression of your essence." "Marcus," she advanced nearer. "If they decline, we will seek an alternative solution." His gaze met hers. "This matter extends beyond the Foundation, does it not?" Prior to her response, her phone vibrated. A message from her father. "Executive meeting room. Currently, they have reached a decision," she said. Marcus grasped her hand firmly. "Regardless of the outcome, recall what you demonstrated to them." "What you demonstrated to me? What is that?" "Occasionally, the most valuable aspects of life manifest in unexpected forms. Even while employed as a maid in a house." She swiftly kissed him and then rushed for the door. "Accompany me?" Consistently. The grandfather clock in the gallery chimed twice as they returned to confront the board's decision. However, the decision seemed to diminish in significance compared to the hand clasping hers and the future they envisioned so distinctly, irrespective of external opinions. The boardroom was eerily still upon Isabella and Marcus's arrival. Takashi positioned himself in the table's forefront, his demeanor inscrutable. "The board has made a determination," he commenced. Isabella tightened her grip on Marcus's hand. "Your proposition is—" Takashi hesitated, creating suspense. "Authorized. Subject to stipulations." The room appeared to rotate. "Which conditions?" A board member initiated the discussion. "The Foundation must demonstrate quantifiable outcomes within 6 months. Completed." Isabella responded promptly. Additionally, another member was included. "You must demonstrate the efficacy of the technological integration. We cannot jeopardize our reputation on unproven systems." Marcus advanced. "My staff will directly supervise the integration." Thirdly, Takashi remarked, his tone becoming somewhat gentler. "Both of you must maintain complete transparency moving forward. No further secrets. No further games." Isabella gazed at Marcus. Then she turned back to her father. "Concurred. Congratulations." Takashi permitted himself a slight smile. "The Sarah Nakamura Foundation for Arts and Innovation has appointed a director." The room resounded with courteous applause, yet Isabella scarcely perceived it. She was preoccupied in observing her father's demeanor, the pride he endeavored to conceal, the anxiety he was unable to fully mask. "Father," she spoke gently, nearing him as the board members exited. "Thank you. Refrain from expressing gratitude at this moment." He adjusted her collar in an uncommon display of affection. "The challenging phase commences now." "She is prepared," Marcus stated, joining them. "We are both." Takashi scrutinized both of them for an extended duration. He finally said to Isabella that her mother would be proud. She consistently asserted that art and business are merely distinct expressions of the same concept. Constructing something exquisite. Isabella embraced him spontaneously. Following a brief moment of surprise, he embraced her in return. The grandfather clock in the hallway chimed 4, signifying not just the hour but the commencement of a new phase. A situation that commenced with a falsehood and culminated in an unforeseen truth for all involved. Marcus observed the father and daughter, recognizing that the most enduring foundations are often constructed not from brick and cement, but from moments such as these. Instances when the past and future converge in exquisite, Unforeseen harmony. Shall we commemorate? He inquired as they separated. Is it Sophia's? Isabella proposed. Takashi elevated an eyebrow. The small Italian establishment? Are you aware of it? Your mother adored their gnocchi. He grinned genuinely for the first time. Guide the path. Upon exiting the boardroom, Isabella's hand once more grasped Marcus's. 3 days prior, she had infiltrated his residence as a spy. She was departing from this building as her true self. The future remained ambiguous. But the most compelling narratives often possess this quality. 3 days following Isabella's arrival at the Bennett mansion as a maid, she stood in the garden clad in white. The private ceremony was precisely what she desired. Only family, Mrs. Rodriguez and Sophia, who insisted on providing meals despite the limited notice. Are you certain about this? Takashi inquired while they awaited their turn to proceed down the improvised aisle. With greater certainty than I have ever possessed regarding any matter, Isabella responded. Your mother might assert that you are irrational. He exhibited a smile. Subsequently, she would assert that you are courageous. What is your response? I assert that he gazed at her intently. Occasionally, the most effective business decisions are those driven by emotion. The garden underwent a transformation. Fairy lights shimmered in the early evening, while Sophia's renowned tiramisu awaited on a dessert table. Mrs. Rodriguez had surpassed herself with the floral arrangements, saturating every space with blossoms. Marcus awaited beneath a rose arch, gazing at Isabella as though she were the sole one in existence. Upon her arrival, his hands remained steady as they grasped hers. Prepared to create something exquisite, he murmured. She said that she had already commenced. Their vows were straightforward and sincere. No further pretense, no additional games. Only truth and the assurance of a future neither had envisioned 3 days prior. As they embraced, the grandfather clock told 6, its chimes intertwining with applause and Sophia's joyful tears. Mrs. Rodriguez scattered rice while expressing blessings in Spanish. Takashi later toasted to new beginnings, his voice laden with emotion. Marcus contributed to art and invention. Isabella concluded by embracing risks. Stars begin to emerge in the twilight sky above them. The home radiated warmth. No longer merely a backdrop for deceit, but a sanctuary for authenticity. Isabella recognized that the most compelling love stories often commence with a falsehood and culminate in the ultimate truth. Two individuals who perceive one another genuinely and nonetheless opt for each other. Marcus grasped her hand, eliciting a smile from Isabella. Their 72-hour transformation from strangers to soulmates may appear irrational to others. However, at times, irrationality is precisely what is needed. Ultimately, the finest work, akin to the most profound love, does not invariably adhere to conventions. The grandfather clock chimed midnight, signifying the conclusion of one narrative and the commencement of another. This time, there would be no more tallying hours, only enumerating blessings, of which they had plenty. The Sarah Nakamura Foundation for Arts and Innovation commemorated its inaugural anniversary in the same garden where Marcus and Isabella were wed. The area was converted into a manifestation of their vision realized. Digital art displays integrated flawlessly with conventional paintings. AI-driven restoration initiatives exhibited with artisanal sculptures. A virtual reality technology enabled visitors to immerse themselves in reconstructed historical artist studios. Takashi remarked that his mother would have appreciated this as he observed Isabella showcasing a novel textile preservation process to a group of students. She would particularly appreciate that, as Marcus indicated the location where Mrs. Rodriguez was instructing Sophia on the utilization of the AI translation system they had created for the preservation of traditional recipes. The foundation surpassed every criteria established by the board and, more significantly, materialized just as Isabella had envisioned, a conduit between realms. Can you fathom that a year has elapsed? Isabella approached them, intertwining her hand with Marcus's. Upon your arrival masquerading as a maid, he smiled. Optimal corporate espionage executed. Takashi cleared his throat and stated, "There is something we must inform you." Isabella's free hand reflexively rested on her abdomen, where the latest connection between realms was developing. We possess information as well. Mrs. Rodriguez, having discreetly eavesdropped, erupted into joyful tears and hurried to embrace them both. Sophia arrived with a dish of her renowned tiramisu. For the child. How did you, Isabella commenced. Sophia gestured with her hand. I realized when you declined wine at dinner last week. While their little family commemorated the foundation's achievements and its future potential, the grandfather clock chimed 6, the very hour at which Isabella and Marcus had exchanged vows a year prior. Some may contend that their narrative unfolded too rapidly and implausibly. Yet, as they stood in the garden where it all commenced, enveloped by the evidence that aspirations may materialize, Isabella and Marcus recognized the veracity. Occasionally, the most compelling narratives are those that remain incomprehensible until experienced. And this was merely the inception.